Couple things. I do want to start by saying it is funny to, it's really nice to watch, this come together where it is. So I thought yesterday was a great day. I just want to let you guys know it was because of you guys. It really was just an amazing, amazing day. So we got another one set up for today. First thing, vendor ratings. Just a quick reminder, right? Before you leave, everyone promised me yesterday they were going to do a vendor recommendation. We also talked about a mobile app recommendation. I think we have lovely forms on your tables. So please make sure you invest 9 seconds and recommend something for your peers. We also have, I mentioned yesterday, for those that aren't members, sign up today. Today's your last chance to do this, to become a member, renew, sign up for the April 2nd and 3rd Summit in New York. I always say every summit's going to get better and better, so we have another higher bar to go after, but I promise it'll be even better in New York in April. And everybody that signs up will donate another $250 to Canine for Warriors. So let's try to get another $20,000 to them. I think we'd love to do it. All right, so with that, it's time for our first conversation of the day. And you all know Carol Cruz, right? She's the one that quit ESPN to be the chapter president for New York. Remember that? That was really nice of her. So we were chatting, I don't know, 8 weeks ago again or something like that. We were talking about the summit, and we were just talking about, what would be two companies or a company or two that everyone would love to hear from, right? And first thing, we both reached, Facebook and Twitter. So I've asked Carol really to be this wonderful host today for executives from Facebook and Twitter. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Carol Cruz up to the stage.
So when I left the bar last night at about 12:20 and people were doing shots, I thought that we would just start the morning with bar stools. We'll skip the table. We can just go straight to the shots. Is Alex Serrata still here and MoFilm? Maybe they could Bloody Marys or something. So I want to introduce Eric Hawkins. Eric is at Facebook they have vertical leads for different industries, and he works with marketers and the sales team to put programs together. Eric's focus is travel, government, and finance, but obviously he can talk across all categories. Eric started out very interesting as a Russian translator for the U.S. Army. So if you have any of those needs in with your marketing programs, I think Eric's going to have you covered.
You want to head over to West Hollywood and get some stolen car parts, I'm your guy.
And then he also has been an entrepreneur with Yahoo, with Pure Video, with Grind Networks, and with IAC.
IAC, yeah.
And then he joined Facebook and probably made a really smart decision in his career, and we have him here today. And when Eric and I were talking about what would be most interesting and helpful, I mean, we know, and from conversations yesterday, everyone, of course, is using Facebook and Twitter in their marketing. So what I wanted to do is focus on, as we're going into our 2014 planning and thinking ahead in the world of social media, to be much more forward-thinking. And I think the areas that are on people's minds, one is mobile, of course, and where mobile and social come together. And what's that mean? It's not a one-size-fits-all, just do your Facebook marketing the same if someone's going on Facebook via their mobile phone versus a tablet versus their PC. So what to think about for mobile and Facebook. The second is the social graph. If you're not familiar with what the social graph is, Eric will do a quick recap. But again, I've asked him to give you guys some tips and some hints on how to really think about the social graph in your business and to be very actionable. So grab your pens or your tablet and write down some ideas, because he's going to be really actionable about things for your business to help you. And then Instagram. So I'm sure everyone here knows that Facebook bought Instagram. And last week they made an announcement about advertising and Instagram and Facebook, and he's going to just recap that announcement and then tell you guys, right away, this is how you should think about it. This is how you can use that feature in your business. So we're going to talk a little bit, and then we'll open it up for discussion and questions after we kind of recap these 3 topics.
Sounds fun. So thank you for having me here today. I think that the most important point I wanted to hit on today is one that we probably all know really well, and that's just the incredible emergence of mobile. So Facebook took about 8 years to get its first billion users. We had 1 billion users, and some of them were on mobile, and we provided a, shall we call it, pedestrian mobile experience. But since 2008, since we launched our first mobile app, we've attracted 819 million mobile users. And most of those have come in the last 2 years, ever since Facebook's app got a lot better. And it got a lot better because we took it out of a format that we had committed to, HTML5, and then we put it in the native iOS format. So a much better experience led to a lot more growth and a lot more engagement. And that growth means that there are about 101 million people accessing Facebook on mobile each day. So it's a fantastically large audience. It's basically a Super Bowl each day engaging on their mobile devices. And when we think about this at Facebook, Carol, what we're thinking about is how much that shift really mirrors a shift that happened 60 years ago. So that was the shift when television overtook radio for time spent. And it really changed the way as marketers we all have to look at the world, because we had to design for a new medium. We had to change the way our messaging worked. And I'm sure everyone here has seen old television advertising. There's the famous Bulliva commercial where they actually read a radio announcement and show an image, and it's really, really awful. And now we have images like the one that the LG spot we just saw.
Yeah.
So we think that that is happening now, and we think that because it's actually happening now. So this year will be the first time that digital surpasses television in the amount of time spent. Big paradigm shift. We probably only get these once in our career. And that means that we need to start thinking about how we talk to people in this medium. And Facebook has obviously spent a lot of time on this because our business has become primarily mobile. And the way we're doing that is by changing how we think about content.
Yep.
So the mobile experience on Facebook is really interesting because unlike the desktop where you have lots of stuff going on and the ads are everywhere, it's linear.
Right.
Like TV, it's linear. So you consume one piece of content at a time, and that piece of content fills up your whole screen.
Right.
And
Much more immersive experience.
Absolutely. And much more personal because it's between a post from your mom and a post from your best friend. Is going to be a post from a brand. And if that post doesn't meet the quality bar, if it doesn't feel authentic, if it doesn't resonate with you in the same way that the posts from your friends and family do, there's a danger that it's not going to be accepted, that it'll be rejected, and that you'll tune out, or worse yet, opt out of the messages from that marketer.
Right.
So I'm almost done with this slide because there's a lot of builds on it. But the basic premise here is that mobile's very important. Digital time spent is surpassed television time spent, and almost all of that has been driven by mobile. As a matter of fact, by some estimates, 38% of media interactions every day are coming on mobile devices.
And I think I've heard that the time spent on Facebook via mobile is much higher. So if you're accessing Facebook via mobile, your time spent
So we're
is
about
higher.
6 hours and 21 minutes a month on desktop, and 15 hours and 45
Right.
minutes a month on mobile. And that doesn't include Instagram, which is another 6 hours and 19 minutes. So
Right.
20+% of all time spent on mobile is spent on Facebook.
And so, okay, so obviously that means we better get our act together and make sure that what we're doing on Facebook, that we think mobile first, frankly, especially certain types of businesses. Do you have, tips and help for these guys to how do you optimize your Facebook strategy and plans for mobile?
I do. I think that the most important thing is you think about where you're trying to hit people on mobile. And you don't actually think about it as different than what you're doing on Facebook desktop. You think about it as and both. So you need to be able to talk to people really, really personally on the desktop, and you need to know that that's going to probably be consumed on mobile. And then for folks who are lower funnel advertisers, you need to think about how you actually generate actions from mobile messaging and convert. So the best opportunity you have to do that on Facebook, the most obvious, is the ability to install a mobile app, which we rolled out and has been very successful. But other folks are having a lot of success by using really compelling imagery and getting people to click through to the site to see that. That's really been successful in the travel category. So the takeaway here is that the content really matters, and that theme is going to carry through our conversation today, because when we get to Instagram, which is sort of the pinnacle of the content really mattering, we can look at some brands that have done it really well.
Yep.
The social graph is really kind of the next piece.
Sure.
That
Why don't you do a quick recap for anyone who doesn't know the social graph? Just
how many people have heard this term and are tired of hearing it? Okay. I'm glad that I can bring it up again this morning after a night of drink.
It wasn't everyone, or they're asleep. And
Right, but there were a few. Thanks. So this is a fancy way of saying all the people, places, and things you're connected to. It's the network of connections you have. It's everything you like. It's every check-in you make. It's every share you have. And it's important really for two reasons, I think. One is, no matter what your product or service is, you can improve it through the use of people's connections and their social graph. And that holds true online. I think the best example of this online is probably, or one example of this online is TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
Who's taken all the information about your social graph and enhanced their search results. So you can say, wow, I should probably stay at the Sofitel because Carol stays at the Sofitel, and if Carol stays there, it's great. Right? Just that recommendation, that implied endorsement from a friend, has a very, very powerful effect. And it has a very powerful effect on conversion. Conversion improves when you provide that social context.
So for the folks here, so obviously you're right. If I'm searching, and you gave me an example of dive bars in the South Bay, and I'm looking for something.
I don't know why
we're going with the Barstool theme
right.
again. I don't know what it is. And I did none of those shots last night, by the way. But when I do that search, you're right. If the search results show that you had a favorite place to go to, that's certainly going to impact my ability or my desire to go to that location or choose that insurance company or go to that vacation destination or use that brand. What do these guys do? What do we all do to make that happen? And how do we kind of manipulate or take advantage of the social graph?
So the first thing is, I think you use the social graph information to enhance your product, whether it's online or offline. If it's online, you bring that information in and you integrate with Facebook to improve whatever you're delivering. If it's offline, you can do that. Frito did that with the Lay's Do Us a Flavor. They actually crowdsourced the creation of a flavor of chips. They had really high engagement. They reached a lot of their target demo, and they ended up with a new flavor that hopefully is selling well. I actually don't know.
So when Frito-Lay did that and decided, I'm going to ask, that's not the first time Doritos has done that. A lot of people have crowdsourced a flavor or a product idea. Did they get, by doing that and getting a lot of people to recommend their favorite flavor, did they start a relationship with those people, or did they get any other ancillary long-term benefits, or was it just a high level of engagement short-term?
So they get the engagement short-term, and that's the second reason you're focused on the social graph. The first is improving your product. The second is improving distribution in the short and long term. So in the short term, when people like you or they check in or they take any action, you show up in their news feed, and that's organic free distribution. That's fantastic. As marketers, we're all optimizing for that. If the message is great, you can amplify it with paid media. I'm sure if any of you have been talking to Facebook, you've heard this message and might be tired of hearing it. I think the third piece, which is the underappreciated piece, and it's the long-term piece you're speaking of, has two components. One is, when you're writing to the graph, when people are liking and commenting and sharing, you're providing information that can be searched on. So I think folks know that Facebook has launched a search product. That search product isn't a typical search product. You don't search based on the links from other websites like you do on Google. You search based on the things you like and the things that people in your network like. So if any of you were to go to Dana Point and search for dive bars and you were friends of mine, you would find a dive bar called Turks. And that's because I like that dive bar. And that's valuable for Turks, right? If I would have told you 15 years ago, hey, there's going to be this thing called Google, and if you build lots of web pages and get lots of web pages to link to you, people will find your business, you would have probably gone out and gotten people to put those links in. Now we all pay people for SEO to do that. Right now, if you're providing information to the social graph, that is a mechanism for you to be found. So if you're a very small business, if you're Beach Hut Deli, or if you're Turk's Bar, and you can get people to check in at your location, like your page, take a photo and share it with friends, you're going to be found more often, certainly in our search results. And as search evolves, I think we can all assume it will get more personal and driven more by this type of data, which is growing at an astronomical rate. It's like they're going to be, I found out this yesterday, there's going to be 2 zettabytes of data.
I didn't even know there was a word zettabyte.
Exactly.
I think
it's
they made
10
it
to the
up,
21st power. Do you know how big that is?
Big.
Neither do I.
Yeah, really big. So what that would say is, people question the value of a check-in or the value of a posted photo or the value of a comment. Doesn't everyone get that? How much is a comment worth? How much is a share worth? And there's that short-term question, but I think what you're saying is there's a long-term value. Getting people to check in or post or comment is going to help your search results then, right? Because you're linking a person to your business or your product.
It is
that their friends, when they search, are going to find your product because your friends have like that. Is that right?
Absolutely. And the
Does
more
everyone
of
get
those
that?
connections.
Does that make sense? I mean, just think about that because, everyone, we spent years on our SEO and SEM efforts to get our search results back. This way, unfortunately, you don't get to pay necessarily, a company to do that optimization. You got to work a little harder to make those brand connections so that people are taking an action or connection with your product or your brand on Facebook so that then it's going to enhance your search results over time with a trusted advisor, right? A friend liked, what's the bar?
Turks.
Turks. A friend like Turks, right? Okay, my friend Eric liked Turks. Of course I'm more likely to go there. And I think that's something that, we have a range of businesses here. We've got small companies, big, B2B, B2C, but I think that's relevant really to all kinds of business, right? To do that.
It's relevant to all kinds of business to think the more information that's written to the graph about me, the more likely I am to be found now and in the future. Also, every connection I make has some enterprise value. It has some residual value. So if you've been marketing on Facebook in the past, you may have collected friends, and there's been all sorts of conversation about, I have these friends, and I want to publish to them, and I can only reach a portion of them. I think that's a common marketer's dilemma, right? How valuable is this connection to me? How much of that do I control? But the folks who are having the most success with us are thinking about their connections, their friends, their app installs, the people who are liking and checking in, almost like you think about CRM.
Right.
As a matter of fact, CRM is actually driving the marketing activity of our most successful marketers. They're taking their CRM data, they're uploading it to Facebook securely, they're matching it with our user IDs and creating these really custom audiences. And whether you're an upper funnel guy or a lower funnel guy or a small business or a big business, I'll give you a great example. There is a business that I've never been to in my hometown called Beach Hut Deli. I've never been there. I like the page because they advertise to me.
Right.
I'm guaranteeing you these guys spent $100 in advertising because there are only, 37 people in my zip code who would respond to that ad, and they talk to those 37 people. But now I see content from them frequently.
Interesting.
People who search for delis in Dana Point are going to find them if they were connected to me in any way before they're going to find other people because they have lots of connections growing.
But what kind of content? Because I got to say, I mean, I've worked with companies. ESPN, obviously, that was pretty easy for content. That was like a no-brainer. A soft drink, a Dasani water, it's a little harder to come up with content. I mean, we have such a range of businesses here. What kind of content are you finding that people should think about and focus on to get that engagement? Because again, you're getting all that benefit. And then the other thing is with this CRM, right, you obviously can take your CRM data and what people respond and what you're learning and marry it with your Facebook data so that you can, if you guys are doing CRM or one-to-one marketing, there's a lot of tools, I'm happy to share some that I've used, that pull in all that Facebook data about your customers or your consumers as well as your own databases and pull it all together for a single view. But what kind of that content, like what do you find resonates to get those consumer actions?
I'm glad you asked. So I think it's a great segue. It's imagery. And I'll talk a little bit about Instagram and imagery specifically, but I don't want to ignore Facebook. So 5 years ago, we couldn't manipulate images the way we can now. And the growth of consumption and sharing in images is tremendous. I don't need to tell anybody here that. What's compelling is just how influential those images are in driving response. So if you look at the folks who are very successful on Facebook, they're almost thinking about their posts like you think about high-end print, like you think about a Vanity Fair full-page ad, right?
We're back to print again.
We are back. Everything comes back. So if you're a marketer who is an expert in print and you felt neglected, congratulations. It's all back again. And if you look at some of the brands that are really good at this, on Instagram, everybody trots out GE, right? Because they make light bulbs and they make refrigerators, but their Instagram presence is all aircraft engines and diesel locomotive engines and the mechanisms or the things at GE that power the world.
Yep.
So it's a really neat position for them. If you look at Burberry, they're actually putting up imagery of weather. So they don't put up imagery of their product. They put up images of weather in London. Mist on the heath, whatever a heath is. And the mist on the heath evokes the feelings and emotions they want their brand to convey.
Well, and I think we talked a lot about storytelling and social and how to build that relationship yesterday, right? Is don't just think of it, Facebook, Tom Eriks, who's the head of sales at Facebook, always said Facebook is plumbing. We're going to connect you with your consumers or your fans, but it's up to you to do the storytelling. It's up to you to build that one-on-one engagement. So Burberry isn't saying, here's my raincoat. They're actually taking it up to an emotional connection level, I guess.
Sometimes they say, here's my raincoat. And that's the other thing about Facebook and mobile. And we think about Facebook, we say social marketing. We think about mobile, we say mobile marketing. And I think what we need to start doing, given the trends, and that was one of the points that I wanted to get across today, is it's just marketing.
Right.
It's the dominant platform now. So if you want to evoke a certain image for your brand or generate awareness, then yeah, use upper funnel stuff. Show them the fog rolling over the moors. If you want to sell raincoats, show them the raincoat and give them a reason to click through and buy the raincoat. Our travel marketers are doing really well driving bookings out of Facebook, but they're also doing really well getting you to consider Marriott instead of Starwood, or Starwood instead of Marriott, right?
And how are they doing that?
Well, it depends on which objective they have. If they want to drive bookings, they'll say, hey, 50% off, limited time only, click here.
Sure.
So they run a deal.
Classic direct.
Or they run a fair sale.
Yep.
Or they put together some other really direct call to action with a powerful, clean image, right? That works well. If they want to change brand perception, they go to their best marketing minds and they say, what's a creative way to position our product? And the very best marketers in this are actually spending as much time with this type of creative as they spend with their television and they spend with their print. So they don't, and this is something we all do. We did this at Search. We did this when I was at Yahoo. Every marketing team starts like this. Oh, that's new. That's hard. There's somebody over there who's 23. They'll figure it out. And those people are all in charge of stuff now, and they do the same thing when the next platform comes.
Yeah.
So for the big brand stuff, it's really about high quality imagery and investing in that and having specific pillars that are relevant to your brand, no different than what you would do if you were marketing with television.
And I think that's a great idea for you guys to think about with Instagram is, because there's businesses you think that is not really intuitive, but if you think about it as print, with the ability to have the interactivity that you don't have with print, yeah. I think it's a great way to think about it. You want to share just with the folks, and then we'll jump to questions, that Instagram news and advertising and what that means?
So did everybody, I'm assuming some of the folks heard the blog post. The big news on Instagram is just that we're going to be putting advertising into Instagram starting in Q4. So if you're an Instagram user, and there are 150 million of them around the world, and they're really, really engaged, you're going to start seeing ads in your feed, a very small number of people at first in the US. So that's great. We want to find out how it goes. Those ads are going to come from a small subset of partners that we think are doing really, really interesting work and providing really, really interesting imagery. What we're hoping is, without being able to share too much about what we're going to do because we're still gathering data and we don't know, is that marketers who are already active on Facebook will embrace Instagram maybe faster than they first embraced social, and get on and start learning the platform and putting their best minds on making really interesting imagery. So I think we want to make sure we don't confuse things, right? Facebook is a great place to do upper funnel awareness stuff and lower funnel direct response stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Instagram, we think, is a great place to do that too. But on Instagram, you have to start from the image.
Yeah.
So.
Probably much more brand building.
Exactly.
Let's take some questions. You get to choose people.
Oh, I get to, hi. Hi.
Do you want to, someone's running over with a mic.
We've had a couple of vendors recently pitch us the idea of commerce within the Facebook platform, so you don't have to leave. So if we posted something and it were a deal, you literally buy it, right there in the Facebook platform. You keep them engaged where they are. You're not pulling them from what they were doing. Wanted to, what are your thoughts on that? On just, you think that works? Any thoughts? And then two, have any vendors that you would recommend in doing that? Both the ones that pitched to us both said they're the only ones on the planet doing it. So,
so there are a lot of people who are the only ones on the planet doing a lot of things. In my experience, which granted is not inclusive of everything that's ever happened at Facebook.
It's not?
No,
Oh.
it's shocking. I will admit my ignorance of large swaths of things we do. You don't need to build an experience on Facebook in order to convert folks. As a matter of fact, people who do online commerce tend to have perfected their landing pages, their funnels, to the point where you can't replicate that inside of another experience. And in my experience, they have more success getting people to their site. In mobile, whether that's an M site or an app or desktop, they seem to do better, right? Yes?
Gentleman in the red in the middle.
Gentleman in the red, and then we'll come back up, and then we'll go back
It
in.
might be Alex, but I can't see very well.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough to see anyway.
Alex in red.
Hi, Alex.
Hi. Quick question on big data and social graph data. So Facebook is now a behemoth in terms of collecting information, structured and unstructured data. What is going to be your policy in the future to open this data via either APIs or other means to not just to vendors like DataSift, for example, or some other folks, but also to marketers like folks like us?
So you're right. We have a tremendous amount of data. We also have a tremendous responsibility to privacy, and we take it very seriously. I think that the way things have been trending at Facebook is that we're looking for marketers to bring their data and then for us to be able to match that data so that really it's your data that's making the Facebook experience better because it's married to our data, but that's done securely so that you don't have to show us all of your data and we're not showing you all of our data, but you're still able to target those very specific cohorts in very specific ways. I think, I'm not in charge of our big data strategy, but it would surprise me if we opened up our data in more ways than that. Пожалуйста. Откуда вы? No, хорошо. Yes.
So for us B2B marketers out there, I know I've had success with, advertising on LinkedIn and things along those lines, but could you tell us about how a B2B marketer could leverage Facebook and Instagram successfully? And are there any case studies? I'm always discouraged because I know that the #1 most liked Facebook page is bacon. So I don't know how, as a B2B marketer, I might compete with bacon.
Food of the gods.
By the way, there is no way to compete with bacon.
So hopefully
Maybe you could add bacon to your product.
Right.
That's right.
I can't remember what.
If you
business you're
sent
in,
me
but
bacon,
perhaps
I'll
you-
buy you whatever it is you're selling.
That's an idea.
So there are some B2B success stories. One that springs to mind that's not a case study, but I can reference it and then we can find you some case studies, is QuickBooks. So we started working with Intuit on their TurboTax product, and they did something really, really smart, because taxes are awful, right? We all hate them. And they were like, well, it's not social. There's nothing social we can do. But they found out there was one thing that was really social about taxes, and I'll tie this to B2B as I go through, and that was finishing them. People shared when they finished them because it was such a burden. And they also discovered, hey, it's a universal burden. So if we can help people share that, that'll show up in people's feed, and then we can amplify that and get more people to use our tax software, and it worked out that way. When they saw the success of that, they said, okay, well, if we can make taxes sexy on Facebook, then we can make accounting software sexy on Facebook. And they have come up with different mechanisms to do that. The most recent was they created a whole program about facilitating the success of small businesses and allowing them to compete for small grants that powered their business. And then they were able to market their suite of products. And they partnered with us to discuss different ways they could talk to those businesses very early in their life cycle on Facebook. That's a way that you could be successful, is finding out what is that common moment of pain or joy or delight that is part of your B2B process, and then using really specific targeting to talk to those people. Yes, in the back.
Which way?
We'll go in the back there, and then we'll go in the back there, and then we'll go in the front here.
And then we'll probably have to time out.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric, for sharing the insights. Talk to us a little bit about the decision for Facebook to go from HTML5, which I know you guys really champion, to native app, and how it relates to people here who have their own mobile apps, and how we should think about going native and what benefits you have seen after going native.
So I think we were very committed to HTML5. One of the things I'm really proud of about Facebook is that we're willing to make tough decisions quickly and pivot the company 180 if necessary. So we actually retrained our entire engineering staff over a period of 6 months while we rebuilt native. And it wasn't that complicated a decision. The old app wasn't good. It wasn't getting any better. And the new app, for those of you who use it, universe is better. And it's helped us build a massive mobile business overnight. So I guess the takeaway, if I were one to give advice on this, would be if you're struggling in a format that's not native, go native, because the consumer experience will be significantly better, and everything springs from that. Specifically on how Facebook powers mobile, right now we're much better at powering distribution for people than anything else. What we want to get to is, well, powering distribution for people who have apps, and powering awareness for people who are brand marketers. I think that as we go into the next year, you'll start to see us getting better at activating mobile users, whether those are our app folks, so being able to drive deeply into the app to a transaction, or being able to get more people to an M site for people who are doing m-commerce. Yes?
Thanks. Eric, the growth and dramatic impact of mobile is clear, and your slides are great. Can you talk about the distinction and how Facebook's looking at handheld versus tablet? Because they're really very different experiences, and I worry that as an industry, we talk about mobile with them combined, and they're really very different.
So they are, so the ways in which they're similar are you're consuming the content linearly, and you still need to be awesome in the way you present that content, and you need to fit inside of somebody's very personalized experience. The way in which they're different is the form factor. So you can just do more on a tablet than you can on a smaller phone. And what I've seen, and I don't have great stats on this, but I do have some anecdotal evidence, is that for folks who are trying to drive to conversion, you have an easier time doing that on tablet, right? You have deeper engagement with a bigger screen, so people are able to buy stuff more effectively.
Right.
I would say that if you're trying to sell stuff online, you should really focus on perfecting that on tablet and then bringing it over to the mobile device or the smaller phone, and thinking about how that form factor works. But for branding, I think they both work very similarly, right? It's a personal experience. You're taking up the whole screen. Your images will look bigger on the tablet, but it's not significantly different in the way it impacts you emotionally, in my opinion. Yes?
Hi, I'm Drew Neiser from Renegade. So we have a couple clients who've been very successful organically building following on Instagram. And the nightmare scenario is that you bring EdgeRank, and suddenly only 16% of the folks at best get to see your photos. Should we expect EdgeRank coming to Instagram? And if so, are you prepared for the annoyance, the anger?
Am I prepared to be strung up here on stage?
Exactly.
So I'm going to dodge that question because I honestly don't know. And I would say that Facebook is a place that learns a lot as it goes along, right? So I think we've learned a lot about how our marketers rely on our products, and we try and respond to that in ways that are really positive. But I don't know enough about how Instagram is planned for, and certainly if we go down that route, I think that given what we've learned in the past, we would be prepared for the reaction.
Can I give you guys a hint? So after a .edu address, Facebook was open to Coca-Cola employees.
Yep.
So I was probably the first client of Facebook. Just take advantage of Facebook not knowing what they're doing. So the minute something new happens, like this Instagram, just take advantage of it, because they
run.
Go and just do great stuff and get amazing impressions and followers, because they're going to figure it out, and they probably will put some brakes on and not make it so awesome for advertisers. Sorry, but I'm trying to help my peers.
No,
there.
I feel you.
So my suggestion, having worked with Facebook for years, is just go for broke. Don't wait and see how it figures out, because it's not going to necessarily help you to wait. It might limit your exposure. So anytime there's something new on Facebook, we just went like for broke. And eventually, Facebook was like, oh my God, they're so successful for this. We might be able to make a little money on this.
Yeah.
So my advice with the Instagram is go for broke before that happens. Sorry, but
you know what?
I got to be true to my peeps.
So one of the things we say at Facebook all the time, if you guys have been to Facebook or heard it, is move fast and break things, right? So if you're partnered with Facebook, there is an advantage to moving fast. We're trying to move even faster and break fewer things, but that is on the walls at Facebook, so it's fair for you to say that.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion. If you don't know what photos work, easy, do your A/B testing. We got the timeline. I saw that. The cut. So, thank you very much. Just stay here for a moment because I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Joel, somewhere. Okay, so in full disclosure, I've known Joel for years because while he started out as an engineer and cultural anthropologist in school, he fell into the world of digital advertising really early and was a co-founder of an agency called Moxie Interactive, and then he became the CEO. And Moxie was based in Atlanta, had great clients like the Coca-Cola Company, Verizon, Nestle, L'Oreal, Fox Network. And then about 2.5 years ago, Joel made this great leap moving from Atlanta to the Bay Area with his family and joined Twitter to head up their global brand practice. And so Joel did me a huge favor and flew down this morning from San Francisco to talk to you guys about Twitter and how we as marketers should be using Twitter as a platform to build our brands, build our businesses. And so thank you, Joel. Appreciate it.